The coaching and solopreneur and independent service provider economy for self-employment that many of us are running into, some for the first time, because perhaps you've been in a corporate job of some sort or even owned a company and found you don't want to do that anymore and you're trying to figure out what's next, is a big part of the economy that we're in right now. And I think it's expanding rapidly and will continue to expand because we many of us want to escape from the matrix, and the matrix of the bots, of the financial bots, the technology bots, the corporate bots that have created an infrastructure of employment that's horrible. And it's appears like it's not going to get any better. If anything, it's going to get worse with more technology, more AI, more efficiency, more productivity, and the stratification of the economy into haves and have-nots, people who control things and people who don't, and people who are pushed out of it because they make too much money or they're too good at what they do. That's not going to change as far as I can tell. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. The problem I find is the coaching market is a disaster right now for many coaches as well as people who buy coaching services. And I'm like, why is this happening? And what's the solution? And what I'm talking about is what's your number? And I think of it as how much money have I wasted on coaches since the pandemic, and how much money have other people wasted on coaches since the pandemic, and how many people have put coaching programs and things together that at the end of the day, they don't feel that good about delivering. They either feel like, well, the people don't do the work, or it's hard to market it, or I don't even want to deliver the service, the coaching service. Uh, and I get it because that's what happened to me. And I'm wondering, and I ask people this question, how much have you wasted on coaches since the pandemic? And everyone I talk to has a number. Mine's 150 grand wasted. And I'm like, what's a coach? I never knew what a coach was. I never heard of a coach. I thought a coach was someone who was like a coach for a football team. And then all of a sudden in 2020, I come out into the online economy and I'm like, what is this coaching thing? It's everywhere. What is this? And I was like, this is the best business model I've ever seen. I'd never even heard of it. Use your intellectual property, scale it, create groups, market it through an authority character you create in the marketplace, create a pathway to purchase. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I've been doing service businesses my whole life. Like, that's really hard because you got to deal with the people's problems. Here, I'm like, oh, you just create your reputation, you scale social media mountain, you get up there somewhere, you find a little perch, run the playbook, and people show up and they pay you. And I'm like, why do I want to give all that money back? So with Solopreneur Inc., which was my third attempt at entering this coaching economy, it started with a company I called Sales Sherpa, and I did a first kind of thing on LinkedIn. 235 people signed up, and I built a community on Circle, and I also ran a LinkedIn a posting group, which I think I look back and I'm like, wow, that's old stuff. Getting popular on LinkedIn. It's like 4 years old, and it worked for some people. It didn't work for me. And then I started doing events, and I created something called Revenue Climber. So I did the model of content-based networking, create your signature stage, find your partners, bring people on, make the offer, and then people will find you attractive and then come into your group program. You'll have some private high ticket offers and all this. So I did that with Revenue Climber for a couple of years, and then I switched it to Solopreneur Inc., what I thought was a better concept. And I created something called the virtual campus and used school. So, now I see school blowing up everywhere, which to me is part of a funnel system, not really a community platform, from my perspective, because I was trying to use it as a community platform. It didn't work for me. And I started this virtual camp and people signed up for it. And I'm like, what am I doing? And I talked to my wife about it, and she's like, "You already have a business. Why are you doing this for the last 3 years? And you spent all this money." And I'm like, "I don't know, because I thought it was what's next." It's not what's next now to me, it's what's was. And I'm in the middle of it, and I'm copying all these people and spending all this money on these programs to get leads and clients and group scalable systems, and I'm like, "What am I doing? I already know how to do this." And it was obvious pretty quick, but I thought I didn't know. And then I did it, and I didn't want it. Now it wasn't a waste because the best analogy I can think of is coaches inspire me. I inspire myself with this direction too. It takes passion and courage to find that thing you must do in the world, hang out a shingle and leap into the marketplace. But I did it wrong. Not really, as much as I was using an old playbook that had been put out there years before from the direct response marketing people and the social media influencer crowd, without even knowing, and the intellectual property, how to sell your intellectual property strategies. And I'm like, this is old playbook. Why am I doing this? This is how it used to be, but everyone's doing it. And that's when you know it's old, when it hits the mass market. I didn't know this industry existed. I'd had a bunch of mentors. These were experts. My mentors were experts. One of them, this guy named Jed Jacobs, he ran a big electronics company in the United States for a Japanese company. And he ran after that a bunch of 30 million, $100 million kind of businesses. And he's teaching me how to do business. That was really a good relationship because he knew what he was talking about. And he wasn't a coach, he was a mentor. But I know a lot of people who get a lot out of coaches. I talked to a woman yesterday, and did a coach of how to succeed on LinkedIn, and I'm like, wow, that's 4 years old stuff, but she didn't know it, so it helped her. I'm like, okay, that's good. She did another coaching thing on how to create your signature offer, and I'm like, that's 4 year old stuff too, but it helped her. Now I listened to her and I heard elevator message, so my brain turned off. But it's working for her because it's giving her some basic structure because she's never done this before. So I'm like, the beginner stuff is useful. But you don't have to do it. There's other ways. And this is what I'm talking about here. So I think that experts are hard to distinguish for me now from people who are in progress of figuring out how to become a coach because they want a different business model. And that does not include collecting a paycheck because either they got pushed out of the matrix by a bot. The technology bots destroyed their industry, which is what happened to me years ago. Um, or there's a feeling of, wow, this could be better. And it can be. And that's the exciting part about what's going on. I've never seen a bigger opportunity in the world than we have right now. Um, Now, I became part of the problem because I took money for a coaching business and I didn't know what I was doing, even though I was an expert in what I was teaching. I didn't understand yet that other people couldn't do what I was telling them to do. So I'm thinking, well, I'll show you how to do this, how to do business development, how to create your structures for your business. I know how to do it. I've been doing it my whole life. So I told people, and they didn't do anything. And I'm like, why don't they do anything? It's because it's like teaching me how to use a spreadsheet or do data analytics, and then say, why can't you do that? I'm like, because I can't do it. I don't know how to do this. I don't really want to learn that much, but if I need to learn, I'm going to learn. And I realized I got to give these people their money back. And I started doing that. I'm not done yet because, money's, I'll give the money back when I can and it makes sense, and I've been doing that. Now, not everyone is going to do that. And I don't blame you. Um, my way up was marketing. My way up was scalable product. And as a work in progress, I took money without giving enough value because I couldn't figure out how to help people do the thing they needed to do. And I also didn't understand that I don't have an answer for anybody else, but I was taught to present it that way and sell it that way through some signature offer and a product pathway that was presented as an answer. In other words, a how-to method, do these 5 things and you will succeed like me, was what I was taught. Create your attractive character, bring that into the marketplace. Other people in pain will be attracted to it in terms of the value exchange through the marketing approach if you're good at it and you can cut through the marketing fog. And I'm like, that's an old playbook now. That's old. That's done. However, it still works for a lot of people. Now, if I look at the people it works the best for, they paid a lot of money to a marketing company to do it for them because it still works because there's a lot of people in pain. So they're caught in their mind process and they're looking for an answer to relieve that pain. And when it shows up in the form of a good solid marketing offer, they take it, especially when there's a lot of social proof or authority because the person doing it is not only great at marketing, but has what is considered a major accomplishment. Like they wrote a best-selling book or they made $100 million or $1 billion. And so they're seen as an authority. That doesn't mean they know what they're doing. It just means they had that accomplishment. But I started noticing a lot of these people don't know what they're doing in relation to what they're teaching because they don't really understand the principles underneath how they succeeded yet. They haven't done enough inner work to figure themselves out. But they had an accomplishment that is perceived as valuable in a society where people are fearful of running out of money. So, particularly on the money side, now that's one fear, running out of money. The other fear is being stuck in the matrix for the rest of your life. That's another fear. So, that's the idea of create your own business. Well, that's a fear based approach too, getting people convinced, well, I did it, so I can teach you. That's not true. Maybe you can. But if you're going to teach people how to do something like that through a step-by-step method, that's how to like do it like me, it's not going to work because no one's like you. Everyone has to find their own way through towards this through principles, which is what my mentors always taught me. So I don't know where all this coaching stuff came from, but it doesn't make any sense to me the way it's being done. But the coaches are great because they have something, but they're getting distracted by the marketing bullshit and integrating that into their program. Now, if it works for everyone involved, do it. So I'm not against it. I still have a lead generation sales outsourcing company. I just don't want to work in it. That's why I did all this in the first place because I got tired of the hustle and the feeling of dealing with everybody's problems all the time and delivering services started exhausting me. So I'm like, how do I get free? How do I make enough money to do whatever I want? It's just backwards. And I finally realized it's not about the money. It's about the thing. It's about what is my product? Am I doing what I'm here to do? Am I what we started calling in my group serving the grail? Am I serving the grail? In other words, helping elevate the condition of humanity. And this is what the coaches want to do, but they're getting distracted by the marketers. Now, if you're a coach and you can do the marketing or hire somebody to help you or a coach to help you get better at marketing, and that is working for you, and it is for a lot of people, do it. It didn't work for me. And I see a lot of people it doesn't work for. And the way you know is if you have a number. So if you feel like, oh my God, I just spent 40 grand or 20 grand or 15 grand, or in my case, 150 grand on stuff that got me nowhere. In other words, I'm not freer. I don't have what I wanted in the first place, but I'll just keep working at it. Then there's something wrong. You're blaming yourself, but you're in a system that's screwed up because you bought into the belief system of it, like I did. And sometimes it's because you're older, like me, where I'm thinking, I don't want to fall behind, but I'm never behind. I'm always ahead because my brain leads into the energy of what's next. So I go in the new technology or the new idea. I've been doing that since I was a kid. So the idea that I'm falling behind is a fear based, incorrect belief that led me to be in pain in a mind process of, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. People showed up who looked like they knew how to do it, and I paid them. And it didn't make any difference. However, for me, I learned how that system works. So that is gold. So that money was an incredible investment in learning what people are doing. So for me, there was a purpose to it. So I'm shooting the basketball. It's not going in the hoop, but it's soaring into other people's yards. And I look up and I'm like, wow, there's some hoops down there. I don't know where it's going to land. And you may be having that experience. So if you're going out there and trying to figure things out, you're doing it right. It's just if you're attached to the outcome that must happen because you're in fear-based living, that sucks. I call it the parking brake. So it's the parking brake's up and I'm running fast. That's stupid. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So my construction of insanity was my insanity of thinking, if I just figure this out, I will have liberation from this condition of feeling like, damn, things are unstable. The technology's crushing me. The financial bots are crushing me. And now the coaching bots were crushing me. So a bot to me is a belief system that's not true. That's a bot. So the bot army is being released onto the world by a lot of really good people with good intentions. But good intentions don't mean anything. Um, when I started doing retreats and what's called shadow work, I got really deep into myself. And one of the things we learned on these weekends was accountability. And accountability is impact. So it doesn't matter what my intention was. If I have an impact, I'm responsible for that impact, not only on the world, but on myself, because it's all connected together. So if I have an impact on the world where people have given me money for Solopreneur Inc., I owe them the money back unless they tell me they got something out of it. So one guy was like, he paid me 5 grand, and I think it was 5 grand. And I'm like, how much was it worth to you? He says 4 grand. I gave him 1,000 back. Another woman, it was the opposite. She's like, it was worth 1,000, and I gave her 4 grand back. I think that was what it was. Now there's other people I'm not giving the money back because I'm like, you abused the privilege of my time. So I don't care what you think, you vampired me. Um, people like that will come to me and I'm going to tell them if they do, I think you need to think about this hard is you got something out of being with me and you paid me $500 for the group program. So I think you need to think about that. Now, if you insist, I'll consider it because it'll feel good to give them the money back, when I can. I got 2 more to go, which I'm working on right now, but my house is crushing me financially with hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs, plumbing and roof, windows, just everything. So that's why I'm waiting a bit. So let me get back on track here. So if you have strong feelings about this, either because you're a coach and you have strong feelings about it because you care about the industry and you care about your own success in it, or you want to become one and you care about it, or you've you worked with one and it worked for you or didn't, it's all good. We want to hear that. So you're an expert in that. You're an expert in your experience. So I'm doing a thing on Thursday. If you go to redpillpathway.com/events, it's called the Entrex Forum. If you scroll down, you'll see it. And it's on coaching, or you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see it. Sign up for it and come. We'd love to hear from you. Grab the mic. Now, some people will probably spend a little more time on the mic than others. We've got somebody opening that really has innovated in this industry. Now, this isn't a TEDx talk where they're going to be on stage and everybody gets to listen to them. No, it's a group discussion, a forum without an expert, but someone who knows more than others about it because they've thought a lot about it, including me. But, I'm not going to share my experience too much because I've done it here. I want other people to speak. So what's your number? How much have you wasted on coaches since the pandemic? What do we do next? I think there's 2 playbooks emerging. I think there's the marketing economy playbook, not going away. Social media influencer playbook, the funnel playbook, the school playbook, the Alex Hormozy playbook, Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, all those people on Instagram. brand builders. Who else? Evan Carmichael on YouTube. These are really smart marketers. They're very good at what they do. Some of them are hybrids. So they're integrating purpose, they're integrating meaning, they're integrating important kind of elevation oriented things into the marketing piece, which is an attractive character based approach, meaning I'm not really telling you the full truth of who I am. I'm telling you what I think will work. That's marketing, period. I don't care what anybody says. To sell or promote something, create an alignment with the market based on getting people to do what I want, which is buy from me, is marketing. There's nothing wrong with it. Our entire economy has been based on it for a long time. There's an issue with it on impact right now because a lot of people are like, what is real? I can't even tell if you're a bot or not. I can't even tell with these algorithms with Meta and Google and Facebook and YouTube what's real. It's so confusing because it is. I know how an ad network works. If you want to learn how this works, look up ad networks and how that industry was created. It's a mess. So, what's the alternative? I think of it as the experience sharing economy. I think it's in a whole economy. People are doing it now. Now, a lot of them are in a hybrid mode where they're still using the marketing playbook because it's hard because there's a feeling of what if they don't buy and I run out of money? That's an inner job. Lowering the parking brake is inner work. It's figuring out yourself, not going and getting money so you feel freed from the fear of not having money. That's chasing the grail as opposed to serving the grail. That's what a lot of people are doing. And it's okay because that's where they are. I have nothing against it. I just want to see an alternative playbook working for people who don't want to do that anymore, like me. I was on a call with somebody yesterday who's a sales expert. He's been doing it his whole life. And he spent the last 2 years running around to what I call learn how to ride an elevator pitch meet networking events. And I'm like, that's 25 years old. I did that 25 years ago. How to create your elevator message and your pitch. And now when people hear it, they just hear blah, 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 like the Charlie Brown adults. The kids don't even listen. That's what I feel when I'm in those meetings. Nothing wrong with those free networking events or the paid ones or the mastermind groups where people are there to meet clients, not because of the topic, or a school community because you're there to make money, but not because you want to be with the other people. You just want to make money with them. That's not a community because there's no shared desire there. It's just chasing money. And there's nothing wrong with it because that's where people are. But there's an alternative. That's the point. And it's not about the technology platform, although I think the video metaverse from Welo for me is the most connecting platform I've found, where Zoom feels exhausting. I don't like it anymore. I got into it early before when it came out. We started using Zoom with my virtual company because it was great. We would see each other. It was a global remote workforce, and all of a sudden we can see each other. Started using Slack for the same reason. We're moving on from those systems into some new technologies now on the metaverse. The problem for me is the avatar. So some of these systems I go in, I'm supposed to have an avatar covering me up like I'm in a Roblox video game. And I'm like, who's real? I can't even tell if you're here or it's your bot. This is going on in LinkedIn, Facebook, in the messaging system. I can't even tell what's a bot and what's a real person or somebody's assistant trying to get me into their funnel. There's a lot of that too. I know because I did it 4 years ago. Um, and even before then, a little bit with the AI on the websites. We tried some of that stuff from a company called Drift years ago, which was a pretty good, smart company. Created something called conversational marketing. Smart, worked. I think they made like $1 billion. They sold it for a lot of money. As far as I know, I don't remember, but they were early and they figured it out and how to differentiate it. It's an old playbook, but it still works for a lot of people. What's next? Experience sharing. In other words, full truth, no attractive character. You're attractive when you're telling the truth about who you are or you're not. The society will attack original thinking. Always. It's always been that way. Ask expressive Gandhi back here in my background. Ask Jack Kerouac, whose little poem I've got up here about the red peg people. You're going to get attacked but it doesn't matter, who cares? Because they're just projecting their confusion onto you. So you ignore those people because the people who are waiting for you to prepare yourself to be ready to serve the world and help humanity evolve can't wait till you figure yourself out. And it's not about whether they'll pay you or not. It's not about marketing to them. It's about creating with them. So the way I look at it is an extensible platform. I think about tech industry. Software, I learned a lot from software companies. I worked for software companies for a number of years, and their models are good. The technology sucks, but their models are good. I'm tired of doing tech support on other people's stuff like Google or Facebook. I'm just sick of doing tech support on other people's products, but they're free because it's an ad network. So who am I to complain? But I would like an alternative, please. Not have to use any of that stuff anymore. But we still use it and it's useful, for now. Um, so these approaches for experience sharing require some understanding of what is my real product. In other words, what am I an expert in? Not what will sell. What am I an expert in? And then how do I make that understandable? Or you can make an art movie that nobody sees. You could do that for your friends and family and be weird like I was 2 years ago or a year ago, because that's where I was, and I built it in public, so you can go back and look. I'm saying the same stuff now as I was a year or 2 years ago. It's just now it's easier to explain because it took that long to figure it out and how to help other people do the things that I'm doing. It's very difficult. That's a process. So you may be an expert, but not know how to deliver that yet. Now, I'm not talking about just coaching. I'm talking about all industries, whether you're building software, whether you're building services, it doesn't make any difference what the company is because you're still creating an experience for the world to help the world elevate itself. And if you create an experience that has a lot of friction in it, like a shitty software company that has great software but is a nightmare to use, like Google or Facebook or one of these things, with all kinds of spam in it and bullshit, and like YouTube with all the lies. Look up moon landing. Okay, it's a mess. That's their fault. Larry Page and Sergey are gone. They got pushed out, and the money people took over. So it's a mess. And if you're going to create something real for the world that matters, there's got to be a purity to it around what you care about, who you are, and what you're really an expert in. And then the way to connect with people for me is around what feels right for me. So I'm doing what I like to do and I'm running experiments and everything and seeing what happens. Part of it's what will work, but I'm not focusing on doing things just because they'll work. I'm focusing on product market fit. How do I connect into the marketplace in a permanent way so I don't have to change everything when everything changes again in 3 years, when everybody moves to another platform or the technology changes or some disruptive economic circumstance? Just these are the black swans. They're obviously coming. A debt crisis, it's all coming. Permanent solutions to this stuff do not come from marketing because there's a division between the marketer and the person marketed to. So they're just going to run on to the next thing that they think will solve their pain, as opposed to building something organically from a center where it builds from the center and expands infinitely. You're expanding the market as opposed to competing within a defined market. That's the primary difference. So, what's your number? How much have you wasted on coaches since the pandemic? Join us on Thursday if you want. If you want to come to something else, I don't do sales calls. 5 days, redpillpathway.com/events. We're working on the calendar. It's a little screwed up still because the integration between Go High Level and Welo is challenging. And these are really good technologies, Go High Level in particular. So we're finishing up the calendar system. It'll be easier, but just bear with me. And because I don't use Zoom, when you come into Welo, the video approach may be a little confusing. So we'll explain it to you. But to me, this is what's next because it feels connecting. And that's what I want. And I want a permanent solution to the instability of the entrepreneur experience. I'm not asking you to take a red pill. I'm not a drug dealer. If somebody works with me directly on the red pill pathway stuff, you're going to have to go a little deeper. Otherwise, I don't know how to help you. But if you're just a regular person, you just want to have a better entrepreneur experience, you're successful or you're not successful, your before version is just as welcome as the after version. This is not an elite mastermind kind of thing for people who have already made all their money. You're invited too, but everyone is invited who wants a better entrepreneur experience.